Welcome to the first presentation of the Searchmetrics Digital Summit. My name is Malte Landwehr and I'm the VP Product here at Searchmetrics, and I will be your host today. If you have any questions during the presentation, please put them in the question box on the right. We will answer a couple of questions at the end of the webinar. And if there are too many questions, we will do a follow-up in our blog. The first presentation comes from Björn Darko. He's the director of the Digital Strategies Group in Europe and will show us how to use search data to get an outside-in view on virtually any market or industry and answer questions about demand and supply. Björn, over to you.
Yes, thank you, Malte, and hello from my side. The title of my presentation today is The Quest of the Holy Grail, Managing Demand and Supply with Search Data. Let me just quickly introduce myself. My name is Björn Darko. I'm the Director Digital Strategies Group here in Europe. You can follow me on Twitter or Instagram, but let's continue. So all of you, all of us, SEOs mainly, are very familiar with data like keywords. We are very familiar with search volume. We are very familiar with rankings, and we are very familiar with CPC data. This is the data we are actually looking every day at or once a week, but this is what actually makes the fundament of our everyday work. So wouldn't it be actually great to use it to influence your company's marketing campaigns with it? Or wouldn't it be great to influence your company's advertising strategy with it? And also, wouldn't it be great to tell your category manager which products to focus on? Or to know exactly which technical adaptations you need actually to beat your specific competition? So what if I tell you that you can actually use all of this keyword that I just showed to you to do all of this? So all you actually have to do is assemble the data in a way that you get a view on market size, competition, share of voice, seasonality, trends, and also, more important, the user intent. So, and if you look at the data like this, then you're actually stepping into the field of market research. And now market research is actually an industry which is worth $46 billion. But the thing with market research is that the research actually just shows us the tip of the iceberg. And if you just, remember whenever you have been involved into a market research program or you did it by yourself, then you know that in market research, you're putting your assumptions on a very small sample of people, right? So what you actually do is you bring 150 to 250 people into a room. You ask them specific questions about your product or about the usability of a product or about the color or about a statement if this fits to the product, stuff like that. You also have like focus groups where you ask a client or ask a user to navigate through your website, how they are feeling about certain features. But as I said, this is it's all based on a very, very small sample. So why you should use search queries actually? Because from my opinion and in our opinion here at Searchmetrics, it's because they are actually the market demand structure. So search data actually gives you a complete overview about your complete market. You just have to look at it from that way. So let me just show you what we actually did for a big sports brand, a well-known sports brand. So what we did is actually that we looked at 1 million keywords and clustered those keywords into 500,000. These clustered keywords were then put into 70 categories, and these categories contain 250, so 250,000 products. So just to give you an idea how we assembled it and how we put it actually together, right? So this is a sports brand, their keyword set is mainly based on a lot of sports and sports clothing and apparel keywords, right? So you look at all those keywords and you have running gloves, snowboarding, so like different categories actually. And what you do is like you group it together into one cluster, right? Ski, so which contains ski mask or ski helmets, snowboards, which contains snowboard shoes and snowboarding apparel, swimming, and so on and so forth. But you not only cluster it from a word perspective, what you also do is like you add market demand metrics to it as well. And this one here is very easy because this is what you're looking at anyway, right? So you're looking at the specific keyword, you look at the search volume, at the CPC, and maybe the competition. But what we do here is actually we clustered it so that the search volume is based actually on all the sub keywords which are part of this cluster. Same as with the CPC. It's the average of all the keywords within this cluster. We also included seasonality data here, so where we have actually look at how high the search volume is in specific parts of the year, so that we actually see a spike in search volume and then can actually interest for a specific product or a specific keyword is it's higher in a specific month than compared to another. What we also do is very important on our side is that we look at the search intent actually. So we are not looking only at keywords with search volume or seasonality, but we also look at, hey, are the people who are searching for a specific keyword rather informational driven? So do they want to read specific information about a product or how-to articles? Or are they rather transactional driven? So do they really want to buy without like reading, a whole novel about a product, but they just want to buy it? Or is it rather navigational? So those are those lazy people like me who sometimes don't give the domain name into the address bar of the browser, but Google it, for example. What we also look at is at the share of voice, because when you're optimizing for keywords or you're building your SEO strategy, then you're competing within your ranking, within a SERP, with lots of other brands, with lots of other domains. So therefore, it's very interesting, very important that you look at your share of voice, like how relevant are you in this market based on your rankings, for example. And based on those rankings, also how much traffic do you generate based on your ranking and based on the keyword set. So what we also looked at in this report is the trend and the total market development. And what we do here is that we look at the specific search volume, and again, this is a combined search volume of a whole topic cluster, right? So we are looking at the trend and the total market development and search volume since 2010, so nearly 10 years. So what we see then here is that there's an unbroken demand and unbroken interest in the market for this specific sports brand for the topic cluster running. So this is just in theory how this report is built up and how is it assembled together. What I'm going to show you now actually is what strategic insights do you get out of it, because this is very important. Like you have a huge set of data, but it's not enough just to have a huge set of data. You have to look at it and then actually pull strategic insights out of it so that you can actually influence your business going forward with this data. So let's start. Let's start with the technical SEO aspect here, okay? And you as SEOs, so you as digital marketers know, and if not, then you know now, that's very important that you have a strong engine. It's very important that you have the perfect technical setup and you improve your technical SEO so that all the content you're putting on a website can really rank and can be found by people. So what we do at Searchmetrics, and this is almost every year, is that we do a ranking factor study, so to speak. And in the last ranking factor study we published, we figured out that especially in the field of e-commerce, websites who rank really well, they have 30% larger file size, for example. They have also 40% higher number of interactive elements on the site, distributed to the whole site. They also have 20% more internal links, which totally makes sense because you have category listings, you have product listings, and you internal link everything which together. And most of them, nearly 99.9% of all pages have a country domain. So this would be com or ko.uk or de in Germany. So what you actually can look at now is like you have a specific product category. We are looking here at boxing, so boxing apparel and boxing footwear. And what you can actually see is all those brands who are sharing rankings and who are actually sharing the share of voice with you within this specific product cluster, right? So these are your competitors within this field. So what you look at it now is like you're actually putting together your own ranking factor studies. You're looking at just those domains and what you for both categories, and what you can then actually pull out from a technical standpoint is like, okay, the ranking factor they share and they have in common is on a file size and byte. It's like they have 198 is the top 10 benchmark, but yours is way higher. Interactive elements, the benchmark top 10 has 291 interactive elements. On average on a website you have 300. Or there's like more internal links on your site, 274, whereas the top 10 average has 219. And so you can actually compare your top 10 competitors on specific technical aspects on a website with yours, which gives you a competitive advantage. If you just improve those things which are important for ranking, then you will actually succeed here when it comes to ranking. Let's jump to the content strategy. And you as an online marketer, you as a digital marketer, you know that you have to have the right content at the right time, right? So, and all of you know this funnel. So 80% of the user journey takes place in the awareness and consideration phase, and just 20% of it in the sales and retention phase. So meaning that, let's take, for example, a coffee machine. If I'm going to buy a coffee machine, the first thing I do is I'm looking for information. I'm not going to Google and type in, I want to buy a coffee machine now. First of all, I want to compare different models, different brands, which coffee machine perfectly fits to my needs actually, before I make the decision and really choose an online shop or choose a vendor where I buy a machine. So this actually means that when we're looking at this data again, that you can figure out what your user's intention is when searching for a product in your market. As I said, so we cluster it from an intent perspective. So is it a topic which is rather where user rather seek information, or do they want to buy, or is it navigational, as I said? So what you should do then is actually focus on the top of funnel content and make them convert at the bottom. Let me give you one example. Let's take running gear as example. We know that running gear is a rather informational-driven topic cluster. So what you should do on all your running gear landing pages is actually you put out inspiration for those seekers who are seeking for information. And you can come up with title like Best Running Gear for Beginners, or you can come up with a title like Which Running Shoe Fits Best to Flat Feet, or Running in Winter, which gear. So you give actually an inspiration to those people who are specifically searching for information, referring to your product. On the other hand side, it's the same topic, right? We are still in a running bucket. On the other hand side is if you look at running jackets, it's rather a transactional driven topic. So people actually want to make a decision, and you need to actually support them and give them an aid for the wanters, so to speak. So here you should come up with landing page copy which says cheap running jackets, or buy one get one running jacket for free, or 25% discount on waterproof running jackets. So you see it's the same topic, but you have actually different angles. You try to satisfy the user intent here. When we speak about content and we speak about creating a content strategy, then it's also very important that you focus on SERP integrations. And for those who are not familiar with the term SERP integration, Google has changed during the last years quite significantly, right? So what you can see in Google's search result page today is actually an ensemble of different features spit out a SERP result page. So you have like a knowledge panel on the right. You have like carousel if you look, if you search for authors or cinema movies, for example. If you search for a specific news topic, you get a news box or an AMP carousel. You get different picture integrations, but you also get like instant answers with a featured snippet, as we call it, or an answer box, right? So these are SERP integrations. And luckily, we at Searchmetrics, we have a feature within our suite which allows you to look at the SERP feature integrations for every domain, actually. And what we do here is we're looking at the keyword set and looking what Google and checking what Google is actually giving as a SERP feature for that specific keyword set. And if you just look at this screenshot here, this is for runnersworld.com. So again, it's a running topic, and you see that I have to look at the numbers. I can't really see it, but I think it's nearly 90% have an AMP integration. So if you create your content and you write your content, you should definitely make sure that you have an AMP page set up as well, and provide those content on AMP as well, especially for those mobile SERPs. But there's also related questions or videos, which Runner's World in particular is not covering very well. I mean, nearly 0%, right? So from a content strategy perspective, I would say Runner's World, come up with videos within your content so that Google can, show them to a user, because it seems to be very relevant here. But you can also not just look at the the overall picture of SERP integrations. You can also break it down. You should actually break it down to specific keywords, which we allow as well within the suite. So here you can look at the specific keyword and you see what SERP features Google will give out in the SERP for this keyword. So the next opportunity here is actually that you can combine transactional content with informational for upsell potential, for example. So if we look at this at this table on the left, you see that ski mask and ski helmet, which for my understanding belongs together, right? You buy a mask and you buy a helmet, but the mask is rather informational driven. So people don't want to buy it instantly, but they want to read something about it, maybe some specific, compared, whatever. And on the other hand, the helmet is very much transactional driven. So people don't want to read a long copy, they want to buy immediately. And what you can actually do on both sides is you have a nice landing page copy where you inform about different masks and the specifications of different ski masks, and you can actually put in some conversion triggers there, which says here are the best helmets fitting to it, or here are here are the top-rated ski masks fitting to your helmet, or full-face ski masks which perfectly fit to your helmet, or which ski masks to combine with which helmet, and vice versa as well, right? If the user is buying a helmet, you can send either a follow-up email or a thank you email. Hey, by the way, do you want to have more information about ski masks? Or if you're on a checkout, for example, you can try to upsell when you say, hey, you bought this helmet, this would be the perfect ski mask to buy as well. Stuff like that. These are really good insights you can use. The third thing you can look at from a strategy point of view is like, and this is one of my favorite parts here, so it's that you actually have direct influence into the inventory and category management of your business. And I will show you how and why. So what you definitely should do, as every e-commerce company today, is manage your inventory based on seasonality, right? And let me just take this example from the sports brand we did this report for, right? So what they used to do is they produce the skiing apparel and skiing products, but what they used to do is they removed those skiing articles from their sales floors and from their from the website already end of Q4, right? But this data, and now I'll show you what I mean, but this data actually shows that there's still nearly 90% of search demand throughout Q1 as well. So what they did, they removed it in the end of December and lost actually quite significantly 90% of the search demand or the market demand. And what they do now based on this insight is that they keep selling skiing apparels and skiing accessories on the websites and on the sales floor, which of course has a direct impact to the revenue numbers and sales numbers. Another example here is also influence to the production roadmap as well. There's another example where they are producing rugby shoes, for example, and they were always releasing those new rugby shoes in September of the year. But our data showed that the highest peak in search volume, so the highest peak in the search demand and in market demand was actually in May. So what they did is they changed the whole production cycle so that they released the shoes now in May and not in September anymore, which of course has a huge impact into sales and revenue numbers as well. But what you also should do, and this is very nice to see as well in this report, is that you can prioritize your entire marketing campaigns actually based on intent. So what I mean with this is that you let's assume it's December, right? So you have your homepage, you have homepage campaigns, but you're also sending out newsletters. You also have a social media campaign, stuff like that. And now you know that, for example, that ski code is rather transactional. So what here could be the insight that you should definitely have a homepage campaign for code, but you should maybe send out a newsletter with a rather informational intended article from your blog or your magazine for the topics of mask or for ski suit or trousers. So rather look at the intent and not try to aggressively sell everything, but also look at it from an, hey, how can I inform my users better and give them what they actually need? But don't just look at short-term seasonality. And this is what we in SEO always do, is we look at the spike of search volume. And here you see again skiing footwear, the highest peak is in Q1 and Q4 of the year. So you shouldn't actually do any campaign around it in summer or Q2. But as I said, it's very short-term seasonality, right? And also if you look at Google Trends, yes, it's a nice tool to look at, but it just displays abnormalities in search behavior. What you should definitely do, and this is what the report shows and gives out as an insight as well, is making sure that you update your warehouse based on real demand. And what this data showed to this big sport brand is that they definitely need to update their skiing stock because the total search volume is actually growing significantly year over year. So the compound annual growth rate is 42% for skiing stock. So rather look at that you always have enough supply in there for the demand which is out there. But on the other hand, you can actually get rid of your Zamba apparel because the total search volume and the compound annual growth rate here is -4%. So the demand is shrinking and shrinking and shrinking. And if you still have something in stock in your warehouse, what you could do is like going out with a sale campaign and get rid of all your Zamba apparels and accessories. But you can also concentrate on running apparel and footwear. Both is growing significantly in demand, if you will. So the fourth bucket we were looking at where we're looking at from a insight perspective is a media strategy. Choose your partners wisely. So when you look at this report, you know who your competitors are, and quite quite specific because we're just looking at the keyword set and looking which competitors are actually ranking and aiming to rank for the same keywords, right? So you have on the one hand side, you have your competitors. On the other hand side, you can look at just retailers, because what we can look at is if they actually have a shopping cart, for example, on the website. Are they selling the same products as you, or are they selling in general? You can also see where there's still potential to partner with. So there are uncovered retailer where you are not selling on yet, but you can have a look at those domains. And when you see, for example, that maybe there's a more profitable partnership than with those you're already partnering with, then it's a good idea to actually approach them and ask them to cooperate with. On the other hand side, you can we can actually see that for the specific keyword set, which websites of those are rather informational driven. So they're not selling anything. There could be magazines, there could be blogs, etc. pp. So these are actually partners you still have not in your in your partnership program, where you can actually say, hey, we are releasing a new product on boxing apparel, and can you please write an article about it, or can you please write a comparison about it, or can you please publish any informational piece about our new program? That would be really nice. So here you have those domains which are have a high share of voice within your specific keyword set. And you can also use magazines for brand awareness, right? So if you look at yoga clothes, then you see that here are magazines who have no shopping cart, so they're not selling anything. On the other hand side, everything which is transactional, you go with those shops. And also, we tend to go on every social media channel which is out there. Just to be there. And sometimes, and very often, I see companies who don't have yet the right strategy, let's say it like this. And if you look at this report, then you can actually see which social media platforms are ranking as well, which social media platforms ranking as well for this specific keyword set. And so, for different topics, like be it skiing or be it boxing, there might be different social media platforms, and this gives you actually a good insight what content you are sharing on those platforms and what content not. So, and then a last advice here, you should definitely start an advertising for yoga, as the market is growing 13% by decreasing CPC, which is a perfect combination. These are insights you get out of this report. There could be plenty more, but for the sake of this presentation here, this would be the insights I gathered together. So how does it impact your business now? It could be a good question you're asking yourself. Well, search demand at the end creates a much larger data set, and with this data set, you definitely get executive attention. You get have a direct sales impact. You influence the production roadmap. Just take the rugby shoe as an example, and you manage your warehouse stock with this data. But for you as a digital marketer and for you as an SEO or whatever your role is, you need to get out of your silo and engage with people, right, within your organization. So you should engage with executives and make them aware about this data, make them aware about the demand which is out there. You should cooperate with your strategic marketing department, with business leaders, and with the portfolio managers within your company. And if you do this, then you have access actually to the whole iceberg, and the whole company has access to the whole iceberg rather than the small sample of a market research. With this, I'm ending my presentation. Thank you very much. If you have any questions, just put it into the Teams chat. Other than that, visit us at searchmetrics.com. You can follow us on Twitter as well, or on Instagram. Thank you very much.
Wow, that was super interesting. And we have a couple of questions. So the first question is this something that can be done for any industry, or was this something that worked specifically well for the sporting apparel industry?
So it perfectly works for everything which is within an e-commerce sector. So everything which is online shopping can work with it as well. We are working on assembling the data for other industries as well, but for now we can just do it for online shops and e-commerce.
Okay, and then a more SEO-driven question, I guess. Is it also possible to look at this with other data sources, like, for example, impression data or backlink data?
Yes, and we actually, so this big sport brand I was just talking about, they actually requested, because we did this report now for the category management and for the you know, those people who are actually you know, deciding which products to put on a website. But when I showed this to the SEO team, they actually exactly asked the right question. So, and for their needs, they want to add other data as well as backlinks, impressions, clicks, and stuff like that. That's possible.
Cool. And since demand data is constantly changing, how long does it take to put such a report together? And is it possible to refresh it on a quarterly basis, or how does that work?
So as far as I know, we built the groundwork for it, so to speak, so that it just needs maybe 3 weeks to put everything together. But it can be refreshed on a quarterly basis, which by the way totally makes sense, because there could be new trends. Now just take masks. We have the corona crisis. Everybody is looking for masks or hand sanitizer. So this is actually demand which is increasing now quite significantly. So it totally makes sense to refresh it on a quarterly basis. And yes, it's possible we can do this.
Cool. Very, very interesting. Yeah, no further questions right now. And if any more pop up, we can maybe do a follow-up blog post, as we said at the beginning. So I would say thanks for this presentation, Björn. And then let's get going with the next presentation.
Cool. Thank you very much. Have fun. Bye.
Bye-bye.